All right, hello friends. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good day, good night. Today, I want to talk about a very specific thing. So, if you use Obsidian, you probably also use Readwise, or at least know what Readwise is. If you don't, Readwise is a service at readwise.io. Basically, it lets you connect to a number of different services. This seems to be the most versatile highlight importer service around. There's so many services that it can connect to, and so many things that it can export stuff to. Basically, it's kind of a connective mesh that lets you take highlights from websites, books, podcasts, blogs, articles, YouTube videos, sort of now, and all this stuff, and aggregate it and into one place in your Readwise account, and you can export it to a number of different programs. In this case, I export it to Obsidian because that's what I really like. Alright, so let's get into it. There is an official Readwise community plugin for Obsidian. You install this. Once you have it installed, there's a few settings for it. And the settings are basically, where do you want your Obsidian notes to be saved in? By default, well, not by default, just in general, each source of notes gets its own markdown file in your Obsidian vault. You can control how it's titled. You can control the entire contents in there. You can tell it how frequently you want it to automatically resync. As you can see up here, there's a little initiate sync button right here. So you can manually do that. There's also a command palette sync option, so you can just zoop and do that whenever you need to. Sync automatically when Obsidian opens, self-explanatory. Resync deleted files. This you will probably always want to keep on, because the way it works is the customization is done on the Readwise website, and when you update that there, it doesn't automatically propagate down to your Obsidian notes. So when you do a big update there, you might just want to delete all of your Readwise notes and do a full resync, so that they all have that new formatting and that new customization. If for some reason you don't want all of your Readwise notes, highlights, synced down to Obsidian, you can, on a case-by-case basis, tell Readwise to not export certain notes. So I would say if you want partial notes exported, don't do this. I would say manually go through and just go through the Readwise stuff on a note-by-note basis. Actually, let's go. If you go into the Readwise one, customize formatting options, there's a little customize button. That will take you to the Readwise website. You log in, it'll be right there. Connect and sync, export Obsidian. Boom. So it kind of walks you through it, and it gives you a lot of examples of what it does. So Readwise uses Jinja, I guess is how it's pronounced, Jinja, which is a templating engine for Python. It's very, very straightforward, and especially because the default Obsidian stuff that you have, it lays it out for you. You're going to see anything that you might want to customize, there's going to be an example in the default setup. Alright, so couple options at the very top here. We've got group, files, and category folders. I've gone back and forth on this. Currently, I just keep them off because I like having them all in one folder. As you can see, I put my things, my Readwise notes into the sources folder, which is in the root of my vault, and then the RW folder for Readwise. I've got some other subdirectories that sit alongside the Readwise folder. I wouldn't mind putting them all in one thing, but because of that resync deleted files things, like when I update Readwise, I don't want to delete the other stuff that's not going to resync from anywhere, stuff that I've, sources that I've set up manually or whatever. So I put that in its own little folder. And if you have this turned on, then it'll be sources /rw /articles /tweets /whatever. Use custom file name. Keep this on because I want to control what the name of the file is, the name of the markdown file that's going to be saved. And I'll give you a little preview over here that will give you enough information. It won't be exactly one-to-one if you're doing a lot of customization because there's just some things that they can't translate into an example, but it's fine. If you're messing around with this and you've got some weird formatting stuff that's going to mess up, like you don't finish doing the templating stuff right, there's going to be a big red, I'm pointing at the screen and you can't see that. There's going to be a big red thing right up here that says error, and it'll kind of point you where the error is, and it won't sync any changes until you fix that. So you're probably not going to mess up anything, and even if you do mess up anything, like you sync it and your titles are all wonky, or like your notes are all mishmashed together, your highlights like aren't formatting correctly, delete it, mess with it again, resync. It's super simple. The actual data that this is using is still safe in your Readwise account. You're good. So don't freak out. It's cool. So file name. What I use is the title of the article, book, podcast, episode, whatever, dash, and then the author name. So right up here, it's got like some basic documentation, and there is going to be this link, documentation, all over the place that you can click, and it's going to have the Readwise documentation, which will help you out as well. There will also be Jinja template documentation that will also help you out for certain specific things if you're kind of having trouble. So the file name. So what I do in here, you can see it tells you here variables, title in double brackets, right? If you use Obsidian, you know the double, or these are braces, right? That's what they're called. These are braces. Double brackets is like the wiki links that Obsidian uses. Double braces in this kind of similarly represents a variable. So if you ever put in anywhere in these things we're messing with, the double braces with title in it, it's going to be the title of whatever you're messing with, or the author, or the category, which is going to be, the folder it would be put in, right? The type of thing it is. Article, tweet, whatever. Last highlighted date is another variable we can use anywhere. Source, book ID. There's a lot of stuff here. And I encourage just messing with it. If you don't know what something is, put it in a spot, delete a file, resync that one file, and take a look at how it comes out, and then figure it out. It's fun. I think it's fun. And we can also see right here filters. So Readwise is really guiding you here. They're really holding your hand. Filters. If you want to customize the format of the last highlighted date variable, you can use these pipe date parentheses filter. So, and then right down here they give us an example. So we got the double braces to say, hey, this is going to be a variable. Then it says date here, which is going to be the date that the initial highlight is created in your Readwise account. And then it's going to have the pipe and then date again, but this isn't referring to the variable. This is referring to what Readwise says is a filter. And then in parentheses, we've got FJY, right, which is a format for how to format that date, which you can see described here. There is a little little table that it links to where you can see what letters correspond to formatting on, right? Day of the year, week number, month. Do you want it to say January? Do you want to say the number of the month? You can customize it however you want. The year, 1 a.m., 1:30 p.m., midnight. You can do whatever you want. All right, so that's a filter. So we can pretty clearly see that, hey, the way filters work is it takes the variable and then it filters it through with that little pipe character into whatever filter we're going to be using. And then it says if you want to replace a character with another one, you can use the replace filter. For example, title, pipe, replace. And then we've got two things here. So in date, we had one set of single quotes with the format in there that we wanted to use. Here we've got two sets of single quotes with a comma between them. So the way this works is it's going to find whatever's in that first single quote set right there. So in this example, there's nothing. It's a blank space. And then that's going to be replaced with whatever's in the second set of single quotes, which is an underscore in this case. So, and then it tells us that right here, replace spaces with underscores. So you can chain filters with this. So because this title is translates to the file name of the markdown note in my Obsidian Vault, which will be an actual physical markdown file on my hard drive, I've gone ahead, so you can see it automatically is going to strip out certain characters, right? But I also don't want the hashtag, $, to be in there at all. I also don't want the semicolon to be there. Those are things that often will mess with file formatting and titles of files and stuff like that. So I replace all instances in the names of sources of the semicolon with a space and then a dash, which is a more sanitized, friendly version of this. Functionally, it's pretty much the same. And then I replace the hashtags with just nothing. I'm actually using double quotes here. I don't know why I didn't use single quotes, but it works fine. There's probably going to be inconsistencies because there's seems to be multiple ways you can do stuff because the documentation that I was looking through did it a way that the Readwise one didn't. It's fine because this isn't like a code base that's running anything. It's just a static template. So if it works, that's all that matters. I don't have to worry about it being incompatible with other pieces that it's going to be used. It's just a static template. So the double the double quotes work too. So page title. So all right. So page title is next. You can see if I leave it empty, but if you want to see where it would go, let's just put the category variable in there, and you can see it pops up right over there underneath my face. If I delete it, it's going to be removed from there. I don't use big page titles at the top of my notes. I turn off the Obsidian setting for the inline page title, and that's because personally, I think not having it there makes more sense. I tend to put a call out with a summary or a brief description of the note at the very, very top, because to me that works better for the page preview hover, and it also works better for in some cases embedding the note into a canvas, right? If I do the little page preview, if I'm in a note and I hover over a link and I get that little pop-up, just having the note title at the very top it's not helpful. It's unproductive because that is probably going to be the text that I'm hovering over. So I don't put any sort of big page header like that. I'll do a little description. So when I hover over that link, I'll get useful information versus having to scroll down and stuff. So you can do whatever works for you. That's just my like logic behind not putting anything there. All right, next section, page metadata. So, just real quick, like basically this is going to be a big part of some of the stuff. And then also the if conditions, which are also in like we're gonna see right now. So in the page metadata section, this is not metadata in like the Frontmatter or YAML sense. That will be dealt with later on. This is just like at the very, very top. So as you can see here, I do a couple things. So this is like the example of how it translates. So this part right here would be like the page metadata. So by default, all it has here is the an embedded external image to the Readwise, whatever link would be for the cover of the book or the podcast cover or anything like that. I also add the little pipe and 400. So the Obsidian scales down the cover image to 400 pixels wide. Because I like that consistency and I don't like having, randomly sized images where one might be super large and it's just, I think, a nicer experience. So I do that. And then there's also this. So this looks like kind of dumb here, but in Obsidian, this translates to a collapsible callout, which has the document note. So in Readwise, it doesn't just take text from sources and aggregate it. You can also add your own sort of commentary to the text. You can do notes on the highlights. You can tag specific highlights. You can tag documents as being documents in like the source sense. Like if I've got 4 highlights from one blog, I can tag that whole like collection of highlights, that blog, with something. I can do a document level note, and that kind of talks about the whole document, in whatever sense I want. And you can also do little notes on the highlight level to make commentary about that specific highlight. If you don't use Readwise, that might sound kind of confusing, but it's actually, it's pretty straightforward if you deal with it in practice at all. So this would be any document level note that I put on here that would be under a summary collapsible callout. For example, if I have some snipped stuff from a podcast, right? This does not have a document level note, so this is a bad thing, but it would look like you get the little call out, right? So this, in this case, this is where I have some of the like tagging and like metadata of the stuff of the source in there. And then this is the little cover art. And then if there was a document level note, it would be right up here. But that's where that would be. Now, there, as you can see though, there's no document level note. There's also no empty callout. So why is there not an empty callout here? Like just a little summary thing, but you uncollapse it and there's nothing, right? Or I guess this one would be open by default, but there's no blank callout. So that's because you can also do, in addition to filters, which are very good, you can also do if logic. So if I go up here, we can see one of the variables before was is new page. And then down here, this is the top of the page metadata section. So this is right above So that's where it inserts the cover art. Right above that is where that empty callout would have been, because the document note variable would just be empty. But this is just plain text, so it would translate that over to the note no matter what, right? But, so if is new page, if this is a brand new Readwise thing, if this is a new source that you're highlighting from, it will do what is beneath it. And then you can see end if, end if. So, this is because Readwise can't just like reach into your notes and change stuff. It can only append stuff to notes. So if this is a new page, it's going to check if there was a document note. And if there is a document note, it's going to do the call out and add the document note text underneath it. And then end if for the document note, and then if image URL. So if Readwise has an image URL for the cover art, then it will do this here. It will do the embedding of that external image. So if there is no image that Readwise has, which won't be the case because those default images that it adds, you wouldn't get like a broken link to media it can't find or anything. And then we got one end if statement for the image URL, and then one end if for the entire is new page call. So, I hope that makes sense. Highlights header. Highlights header. So, let me show you the end result for this. So I use, again, a call out. This time it's an info one. And the plus there means it's collapsible but open by default. And then I do some stuff. So I add tags for the subject, which is what the source is about. And then I add a tag for the what the source is. So source books, source podcasts, source tweets, whatever. Then I put the author there in double brackets. And then I put the URL there. And then I put the date there also in double brackets. So in terms of what you would put into the customization. So there we go. So we got that info call out right there. Then we've got another little arrow to indicate that this is going to be in the same block underneath it in that call out. And then I've got the little thing there, and then we've got, all right, another logic statement. So this is going to be in the default exports setup, so you can just copy and paste this and mess with it as you want. The default one has each tag that you put on the document page in double brackets, so that in Readwise it's a clickable link. I don't like that. So I've changed it to be hashtag subject slash and then the tag. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And then the tag, so that those become actual tags in Obsidian, not links to either actual pages or not created pages. Personal preference. So what this will do is it's basically saying for every tag that the user has put on this document, I want you to do what is right here. So subject slash tag. And then there's an empty space there. So this would translate to, if there's like three subjects I've put on this document, it'll say slash subject slash topic 1 space hashtag subject slash topic 2 space hashtag subject slash so they don't run together, right? And end for, just like those end ifs in the other section, are going to say, all right, we're done with what you need to do for each tag. So either go through and do it again for the new tag, or move on and start with the next thing. Similarly, I do a hashtag source slash and then whatever category it is. The thing here is that currently videos is not a category that Readwise has built into it, even though Readwise's RSS read it later app reader, you can send YouTube videos to it. And then it'll do some transcription stuff and let you highlight the transcriptions, and it's okay. That doesn't translate into a videos category on Readwise yet. I assume that'll change. So what I do now is I dug into the Jinja documentation, and I've found a workaround. So if you use a reader for YouTube videos now, and you want those to have their own category in your notes, so I do hashtag source / and then a little Jinja template there that I think by default it would just be brace category brace, but similarly to like the if statements above, but just like an inline thing, I do double quotes and I say videos, right? So the double quotes means it's going to put just that text there if youtube.com in URL. So obviously that's kind of a wonky thing to read out, but URL is one of the variables that we have access to. And that's going to be the URL of the note, of the podcast, of the whatever we're highlighting. So all this is saying is if inside of the variable URL there is the text youtube.com, I'm going to write videos, the word videos, to this markdown file that we are sending to Obsidian. Else, if there is not youtube.com in the URL of the source that we're making this file for, I'm just going to use the category variable, which is going to be whatever Readwise has it, has that source tagged as. I assume that at some point videos will be added to the categories that Readwise natively supports. But what this also means is that you can kind of break it down as much as you want. One of the things that Readwise doesn't have that I wish it did was default metadata for sources. Right? I can't say, okay, any podcast, any Monsters Among Us podcast that I snip from, it's going to automatically be tagged with some creepy stuff, right? Because this is a podcast all about creepy stuff. So maybe I don't want to automatically go in there and have to every time put that that subject tag on there. Well, if I really wanted to, I could have this section include this so that I can just, tag it manually through Readwise, but also have it include subject, hashtag subject / whatever I want, depending on the source. So I can say if monstersamongus.com in URL, then add this tag. So I could go through and do my own template level default tags and stuff for specific sources if I wanted to. And that doesn't even have to be just limited to whatever's in the URL. Do entirely different customization for different source types. So you could do in the highlights header or up here, you can just have different if sections that will get triggered based on the source type. So if it's a book, let's do it like this. If it's a podcast, let's do it like this. So you can like change the colors, you can change what callouts it uses, or you can change how it organizes stuff. You can do entirely different templates. Very, very, very strong if you need it to be. Okay, yeah. Then I put the author here. I do put the author in double brackets for Obsidian wiki links. And then here we have just that URL variable that we are messing with, searching through earlier. And then we've got the date that, and then we got the top header that just says highlights. And then down here it says has new highlights. So if it has new highlights, it's going to say new highlights added and then the date. Versus the very beginning header right in front of all of your highlights, like your initial highlights that you make, it's just going to say highlights. Moving on to the highlight itself, I like to use quote callouts, collapsible ones. You can do whatever you want. I think the default one is an unordered list, which is, it's fine. I think for most people, I've just been using callouts a lot lately because they look pretty. And I like the optional collapsing functionality and stuff, so this is pretty much all default stuff just added into a little callout. I do not like the implementation that I have now of like the notes and stuff. So if I do a tag, a highlight level tag or a highlight level note, currently it's just in like another callout, but it's separated. I tried to put this callout inside the main highlight callout, but it wasn't working very well. So I need to figure something better out for that, but small thing right now. So I do a couple things to the main highlight note. So first of all, I run the replace filter on all this stuff too. So the same ones. So I get rid of the colons and I get rid of the hashtags, right? Getting rid of the hashtags in the highlights is super, super important, especially if you are someone that likes to bookmark tweets. Because you probably don't want the hashtags in there to be translated over to your Obsidian note because they will mess with your tags in Obsidian. So I stripped those out. I think I replaced them with plus signs. So I can, like, when I'm looking at the highlight, I can kind of see, okay, this was a like Twitter hashtag or whatever that I've changed, right? So it's, instead of it just being like a random word or phrase that I might not immediately recognize as like the context of what it was supposed to be, this is just something to help me out. I think that is going to be super useful. You know, you can change this to nothing, change it to whatever you want, whatever makes sense. Maybe you'll put like a little like highlight like in brackets or something to like, or a hashtag or a tag in brackets, like a word in brackets to let you know, something like that. The other thing I do, which I got from this Medium article by TFT Hacker, I will link to it down in the description. In the description, I will also have a link to an Obsidian publish page that will have all of my setup, so you can copy and paste it if you want to try it out, play around with it, anything like that. Where'd it go? So Readwise has a highlight ID variable, which is the it's like the internal number that Readwise uses to refer to that specific highlight you have made. How am I trying to say this? Each highlight within each source note will have its own highlight ID. So the highlight ID is used in like the URLs that Readwise uses to link to specific IDs. And what they recommend in here is using the block notation, the little caret, and then the highlight ID. What this will do is that this will make it so that you can have so right here, below is an embedded block to a Readwise import note. So the exclamation to embed it and not just link it, and then the title of the note, and then the little caret, and then the Readwise ID that is going to be taken from Readwise and embedded, right? So that's the embed right here. If I delete the note that it's taking that embed from, obviously this is going to not be a legitimate embed anymore. But as long as I don't change the title that Readwise uses, when I re-import stuff, it's going to have the exact same block level notation there. So if you like to use embeds in your notes instead of just like copying or whatever, using the highlight ID is going to guarantee that every single highlight you use will always have that same notation. So if you are experimenting with your Readwise stuff and you have to delete stuff and re-import stuff, it's always going to be the same. And so I do that, and this is the second call out that again, for each tag that the highlight has, do the little tags in the double brackets for the wiki links. And if there's a highlight note, then go ahead and put that in there and replace those characters before you put that in there. Simple. YAML Frontmatter. So this is where you put the YAML, your YAML. You don't do the dashes to indicate that it's YAML. It'll take care of that when it goes through it. I don't use too much YAML Frontmatter. I do put the title of the article in there, again with those replace things. I don't need to put it in like with the public facing metadata of the article because it's also the name of the file and it's just, you know, but it is nice to have it here separately for a data view and some other plugins that might need to use it. Moment is going to be, you can see this is a templater, community plugin templater. This is a templater call. If you have templater listen to all forms of note creation, you can use templater in here as well to trigger advanced things. I couldn't get the date filter to do the time the note was created, so I use templater for that. And then I also use an icon data set here that puts a little emoji depending on the category. And as you can see here, I also have the YouTube checking of the URL variable. Because category is, you know, separate. So we've got that little video cassette. If YouTube is in URL, we'll put the video cassette. Else, if the category is books, we'll put the little stack of books. Else, if the category is articles, we'll put the newspaper there. And then I use data view to pull this icon and put it next to any results it finds. I do that through all my notes. I do that through all data view calls. So for here, it's not something I'm going to change manually, but like I've got templates that will put default icons for like whatever, but then I'll go in there and I might change specific ones if there's like a cutesy little funny icon emoji that is relevant to it. So yeah, that's what I like to do. Sync notification. This is a file that Readwise will write to and just put on this date I synced this many highlights. Yeah, and you can customize it. I don't find it useful, so I just keep. Oh my god. Okay. Is that a lot? I didn't think it was gonna be a lot, but then like now that I've gone through it all and talked about it, I feel like it's a lot. So there will be, like I said, Obsidian publish page, so where I will have links to different things, and I will have code blocks you can just copy and paste right into your Readwise settings if you want to play around with it, if you want to copy it over and then mess with some of the logic, mess with some of the formatting, see what cool stuff you can do that's useful to you. Share it with me, because I'm always looking for ways to make stuff more fun to use, more interesting to look at. I guess that's all for this. Feel free to click away from this, or feel free to look at all the stuff down below. I'm trying to raise some extra cash for some commission work. I need artwork and voiceover for some creative projects I'm doing. So if you have any ability to assist with that, there are links down there. And I will redistribute that cash to artists, visual artists, and voiceover artists that need it. Yeah, it's great. It's fun. It's exciting. All right. Bye-bye.